Hello, all. Let us talk about ancient Greek art, Hellenistic period, 323 to 31 BC. The objectives in learning this chapter will be as follows. Acquaint the students about the significance of Greek art and architecture in the said period. Understand in detail about the different periods in Greek history and circumstances that led to the production of art. Appreciate the art and architecture of the said period. The Hellenistic age marks the transformation of Greek society from the localized and introverted city-states to an open, cosmopolitan and at times exuberant culture that permeated the entire Eastern Mediterranean and Southwest Asia, that permeated the entire Eastern Mediterranean and Southwest Asia. While the Hellenistic world incorporated a number of different people, Greek thinking, mores, and way of life dominated the public affairs of the time. All aspects of culture took a Greek view, with the Greek language being established as the official language of the Hellenistic world. Hellenistic art is the art of the Hellenistic period begins with the death of Alexander the Great in 323 BC. The term Hellenistic refers to the spread of Greek culture beyond Greece, especially to the east, as a result of Alexander's conquests. The autonomy of individual cities of the classical era gave way to the will of the large kingdoms that were led by another ruler. Before the end of the 3rd century BC, three of Alexander's generals, Antigonus, Ptolemy, and Seleucus, had carved out their own kingdoms. Macedonia and mainland Greece was controlled by Antigonids, Egypt by Ptolemies, and Seleucus controlled Asia Minor, Mesopotamia, and Persia. Over 2nd and 1st centuries BC, these three kingdoms became a part of growing empire centered in Rome. Ptolemaic Egypt endured the longest, and its capital, Alexandria, flourished as a prosperous seaport and great center of learning and the arts. The Battle of Actium in 31st BC and the death in 30 BC of Egypt's last ruler, the remarkable Cleopatra, ends the Hellenistic period. This unprecedented contact with cultures far and wide disseminated Greek culture and its arts and exposed Greek artistic styles to a host of new exotic influences. The king was the center of each kingdom. The king and his family lived in magnificent palaces with elaborate banquet halls and opulently decorated rooms and gardens. They displayed wealth lavishly during the court festivals and symposia in royal palaces. Hellenistic kings became prominent patrons of the arts, commissioning public works of architecture and sculpture, as well as private luxury items that demonstrated their wealth and taste. Jewelry was now therefore very elaborate, incorporated rare and unique stones. New precious and semi-precious stones were available through newly established trade routes. Similarly, increased commercial and cultural exchanges, the greater mobility of goldsmiths and silversmiths led to the establishment of a Koine, common language, throughout the Hellenistic world. Greek cities were dominant feature in the Hellenistic age. City-states of the classical Greece like Athens, Corinth, Thebes, Miletus and Syracuse were already prosperous, and others grew as important trade centers. Pergamum, Ephesus, Antioch, Damascus, Trapezus are few of the cities whose reputations have survived to our day. Alexandria of Egypt was the most powerful city ever. Founded by Alexander the Great himself in 331 BCE, it became the center of commerce and culture of the Hellenistic world under the Ptolemies very swiftly. It also had the tomb of Alexander the Great, one of the 7 wonders of the world. The Pharos lighthouse of Alexandria, the famed library of Alexandria. Hellenistic art was created during an age characterized by a strong sense of history. For the first time, there were museums and great libraries. The period also hosted many famous thinkers and artists. Philosophies and schools of thought like Stoics, Skeptics and Epicureans. And the Epicureans contributed to the already rich Greek philosophy. Art, literature and poetry reached new heights of innovation and development through the work of Callimachus, Apollonius of Rhodes, Menander and Theocritus, Polycletus. Sculptures and canons remained influential and were copied throughout the Hellenistic, Roman eras, and even centuries later during the Italian Renaissance. In architecture, public buildings and monuments were constructed on larger scale, in more ambitious configuration and complexity. The classical styles were further refined and augmented with new ideas like the Corinthian order, which was first used on exterior of temple of Olympia Zeus in Athens. The mausoleum of Pergamum merged architectural space and sculpture by the placement of heroic sculptures in close proximity of a grand staircase. In geometry, Euclid's elements became the standard all the way up to the 20th century. Archimedes' work on mathematics was legendary. The Hellenists knew that the earth was a sphere. Let us now look at Hellenistic sculpture. Hellenistic art did glorify gods and great athletes, but it also served to decorate the homes of the newly rich. It was an expression of the prosperity and new social structure that arose in the colonies of Alexander's empire. Public support for the arts continued, but individual citizens also began patronizing artists. They would rather buy art that was secular and personal than create monuments to gods. A Greek civilization spread to far off areas in Egypt, Syria, and Turkey. Demand for statues and reliefs of Greek gods, goddesses, and heroic figures for their temples and public areas increased. While the demand increased, workmanship and creativity suffered in order to complete on time. In terms of subject matter, Hellenistic Greek sculpture continued the classical trend towards ever greater naturalism. Animals, ordinary people of all ages became acceptable subjects for sculpture, which was frequently commissioned by wealthy individuals or families to decorate their homes and gardens. While there was no requirement to portray the ideal notion of beauty and aesthetics, the emphasis shifted to greater emotionalism, pain, stress, anger, despair, or fear. Posture and physical characteristics were used to show thoughts, feelings, and attitudes. Humble themes and portrayals of human beings in all walks and stages of life, even caricature, became popular. From architecture came an awareness of space that added landscapes and interiors to sculpture and painting. In other words, Hellenistic art was preoccupied with particular rather than the universal. Patrons and artists alike preferred individuality, novelty, including ethnicity and ugliness, and artistic inventiveness. Hellenistic art built on the classical concepts but became more dramatic with sweeping lines and strong contrast of light, shadow, and emotion. Great sculptors Lysippos, Scopas, Praxiteles emphasized on realistic expression of human figure, greatness and humility, characteristic of the charioteer of Delphi, gave way to bold expression during tense moments, typified by the boy jockey. Hygieia is a statue that reflects the Hellenistic style. Although done in conformance to classical standards and ideas, Hygieia has an expression of concern and understanding. Lysippos created the royal image of Alexander. Here, Alexander is shown with a titled head, as if he is gazing towards the heaven, with dreamy eyes, parted lips, fleshy facial texture, and a furrowed brow. In figure 5, we see the outstretched wings and swirling clothes of the winged Nike from Samothrace, depicting the pressure of the wind as she descends from the heaven on the prow of a ship to commemorate a naval victory. The sense of movement in her garment and outstretched wings achieve a heightened sense of swiftness, along with the forward diagonal of her torso forced against the elements. The drapery masses sweeping across the front of the body, which are contrasted with seemingly transparent drapery at the torso. The more deeply cut folds also increased the areas of shadow in the skirt swirling around her legs, making it appear darker as well as heavier than the drapery covering the torso. In Sleeping Eros, God is depicted as a naturalistic toddler with baby fat and childlike proportions. He is shown in the state of sleep, relaxed and unaware of waking world. His weight lies heavily on a slanted surface and his arm hangs limply in response to the force of gravity. The artist has shown great attention to the elegant curls and wing feather patterns on his back. The slight bulge of the buttock suggests the weight of the child as he rests on the rock. Other major works include the Farnese Bull, 2nd century, Dying Gaul, 232 by Epigonus, the Pergamon altar, circa 180 to 150, Medici Venus, 150 to 100, the Three Graces, 2nd century, Venus de Milo, circa 100 by Andros of Antioch, Laocoon and his sons, circa 48 to 20 BCE, by Hagisander, Athenodorus and Polydorus. Let us turn now to Hellenistic architecture. Because there were rulers now and too many of them, they created huge opportunities for self-aggrandizement. The Attalides built in Asia Minor a new capital city of Pergamon in Persia. The Seleucids evolved a form of Baroque style building design. In Egypt, Ptolemaic dynasty constructed the lighthouse and library at Alexandria. Palatial architecture was revitalized and numerous municipal structures were built to boost the influence of local rulers. However, temple architecture was no longer the focus, and the peripteral temple, single row of pillars on all sides, lost much of its importance. But with advent of architect Hermogenes and Priene, who made certain changes to the Ionic style of architecture, featuring tall, slender columns with elaborate foliate capitals. Temple architecture revived itself in 2nd century BC. As far as styles went, the restrained Doric style of temple architecture fell completely out of fashion, since Hellenism demanded the more flamboyant forms of the Ionic and Corinthian orders. Admired by the Roman architect Vitruvius, circa 78 to 10 BCE, famous examples of Hellenistic architecture include the great theatre at Ephesus, 3rd to 1st century, the Stoa of Attalus, 159 to 138, the cloaked house tower of the winds at Athens. The Corinthian style dominated the Hellenistic age and reflected the contemporary taste of grandeur. Apparently, the style was preserved for the interiors. Curly acanthus leaves and coilflower spikes surround a basket-shaped core in the Corinthian capital. Above the capitals, the Corinthian entablature, like the Ionic, has a stepped out architrave and continuous frieze, but it includes additional bands of carved moldings. The Corinthian design became a symbol of elegance and refinement, and it is still used on banks, churches, and court buildings today. The Corinthian temple of the Olympian Zeus, located in lower city of Athens, at the foot of Acropolis, was designed by the Roman architect Cossutius in the 2nd century BC on the foundations of an earlier Doric temple, but it was not completed until 3 centuries later, under the patronage of Roman Emperor Hadrian. The temple's great Corinthian columns, 55 feet 5 inches tall, may be the 2nd century BC Greek original or Roman replicas. Viewed through these columns, the Parthenon seems modest in comparison, but for all its height and luxurious decoration, the new temple followed long-established conventions. It was an enclosed rectangular building surrounded by a screen of columns standing on a 3-step base. Its proportions and details followed traditional standards. It is quite simply a Greek temple, ground very large. That's it for the Hellenistic age. I'll leave you with some interesting facts on the age of this art and architecture.